Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I'm asking, where is the balance between moderation and censorship? Specifically content moderation, and I think this is an important one. And what got me thinking about this was a really interesting article by Umar Shakir of The Verge. And here's what's going on in his world, and quite frankly, a lot of other people's worlds right now. Now, Threads, if you're familiar, is the competitor to Twitter that Meta put together when basically Elon Musk bought Twitter and it all kind of started tanking and people were jumping ship, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's still going on and it's still a thing. And so there is a topic that is trending on Threads called Threads Moderation Failures. Now, some users are complaining that their accounts are being deleted or restricted for linking to articles with controversial topics. Now, Instagram and Thread boss Adam Mosseri basically directly replied to some of these complaints just to say that they are quote unquote looking into it. And the author of this piece is one of many people who had his account deleted for allegedly being a child, which he claims he's not. And I'm just going to take Umar at his word on this. And that's probably why he wrote the article as well. Now, moderation is just a massive perennial problem on social media in general. I don't care what the platform is. But based on social media posts and The Verge's staff's own experience, meaning Umar's colleagues, Meta is currently banning and restricting users with a lot more frequency and a lot more quickly than the other platforms are. On the other side, for the record, Twitter is basically almost shut down content moderation with the amount of stuff I've seen on there that I think would be moderated on other platforms, but that's a whole other topic. Now, one of Umar's colleagues at The Verge was locked out of her account briefly this week after joking that she quote unquote wanted to die because of a heat wave. Obviously, that's a joke. Another one, Jorge Caballero, say that basically the automated system had added fact checks with mistakes to material that it detected as political, as well as throttling posts with factual information for events like hurricanes. Now, some have dubbed this situation as Crackergate, as recent posts mentioning saltines or the word Cracker Jacks have been instantly removed. And as I think we all know, cracker is obviously a term for white people, and I'm guessing that's why they're banning it. Not quite the same as like the N-word, for example, but I'm guessing that's what the content moderation is doing. Now, Meta has faced intense public scrutiny about young people on its platforms, and it's taken action in the face of regulation, restricting what underage teens can do on any of their platforms. It started requiring, for example, that all Instagram users put their birth dates on file in 2021. And so that is the premise of this. And so the real balance is, what is content moderation versus actual censorship? And that's what got my mind thinking about this. Now, obviously, all of these platforms cannot have a front line of humans looking at every single post that other humans are putting out there. You would need half the population of the planet to basically police the other half in real time. So how do they do that? They leverage artificial intelligence. That's when you get words like cracker being banned when you're just talking about saltines or Cracker Jacks, right? Because the AI doesn't understand that nuance, that inference. You're not calling somebody a cracker, you're talking about crackers. And so by virtue of that, it seems like the artificial intelligence has been tuned over time. Now, I also think that this is in the backdrop of what is a very contentious political season here in the United States, with an absolute metric ton of disinformation being pumped out left and right. And this is Meta's response to that, to say, well, we'll just turn up the AI to 11 and start banning things, and we'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission on this, meaning they're going to ban things, like Cracker Jacks, for example, when quite frankly, they're going overboard. But I think they're doing that per intent, just because they're trying to get a handle on this, because nobody else really has, and they haven't either, to be perfectly honest. And so that, I think, is the big issue. And the real issue that we're talking about here is, okay, I can be banned, for example, or let's say censored in some way, shape, or form for posting about Cracker Jacks because the AI thinks I'm wrong. And for the record, that is a bit of a harmless mistake. I mean, it is what it is. I'd be frustrated on that, or having my account banned for putting out something that, quite frankly, is absolutely normal to talk about or should be talked about. But the other side of that is the disinformation. Now, understand the difference between disinformation and misinformation. This is something I've talked about quite a bit before, is that disinformation is content that is generated knowingly with the intention of deceiving somebody. Now, if I see that disinformation and I believe it for whatever reason and say, I need to share this with others, I am turning that disinformation into misinformation as I am generating misinformation off that disinformation because my intent is altruistic. I'm just ill-informing my public, whoever my public may be. That's the difference, is the intent. And so when we are talking about this, it's almost impossible for an artificial intelligence to discern that. Now, we have here in the United States the First Amendment, which enshrines free speech. And so by virtue of that, you have every right to speak your mind. But here's the thing. That's against the government, meaning the government doesn't have a right to censor you. Private corporations, individuals, or entities have every right to censor you whatsoever. And I look at RT, the Russia network, like Russia Times, that was a news network here, quote unquote news network, that basically broadcast like a CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or any one of those. And in the invasion of the Ukraine, the federal government, the US government, didn't shut them down. What shut them down were the distributors of these stations. Hey, I'm going to take CNN and Fox and whatever, and I'm going to pump them out on my network, like a Comcast or Spectrum or any one of those. They all collectively decided to drop RT. But it wasn't the government that did it because RT had a First Amendment right. In the same way that even if I have ill intent to put out disinformation to, let's say, do harm in some way, shape, or form to, let's say, a mentality or the public in some way, I technically have that right under the First Amendment, but that doesn't stop or prevent a platform from blocking it if they detect it as such. And so this is the balance that we have to meet because, quite frankly, if I'm blocked from putting this video or podcast or even, let's say, my radio show out by any of the Meta properties, think Facebook, Instagram, Threads, whatever, technically, they have every right to censor me. I don't really have recourse on that. They're a private corporation, publicly traded, I know, but again, they're run by their shareholders, and if they decide that this is what they want to do, well, sucks for me. And so I don't necessarily see this as a problem per se long term, and I do think that everybody has that freedom of speech, but also understand what freedom of speech meant to the original framers. If we're going back to, the framework of the Constitution as an originalist, the whole point of that was to have informed debate with basically contrarian sides that essentially were educated on this. And so you could basically have a redress of government that was logical, that would be an open and honest debate between, let's say, two scholars or two people that were in the know. It wasn't designed for you to say any crazy thing that you want and then basically attempt to torch a conversation, if you will. So I'm not saying that that's good or bad. I'm saying that was the original intent of free speech, not to put out all the crazy things that we're seeing right now. So I think we have to take the good with the bad here, but when you're looking at content moderation on a platform like Twitter or Facebook or any one of the big players, Instagram, obviously Threads also in this, I think we have to understand that it's not necessarily censorship by a government. Nobody's crushing your free speech. Meta is, or Twitter isn't in this case. So we'll see what happens, but that's my 2 cents. I don't necessarily know how we fully combat disinformation other than simply finding it, identifying it as actual disinformation, and then quashing it because, quite frankly, that does, I think, more harm than good to public discourse. But again, I'm not trying to censor anybody, and there are people whose intent is genuine as they believe disinformation and turn it into misinformation as they spread it. And that's something that we need to combat with education and a whole bunch of other things too. So I'll leave it at that. I'll shut up now, but that is your news of the week. And Umar, I hope you get your accounts unblocked. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, where they have every right to censor me. They're a corporation run by shareholders. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. Same deal there. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.